Racist cop arrests the wrong black woman, faces instant karma when he finds out. She's FBI. The late afternoon sun cast a golden haze over the bustling streets of Midtown. Atlanta, Georgia. Sarah Williams, a 35-year-old black FBI special agent, sharp and resolute, drove her sleek black sedan through the city's pulse. She'd just wrapped a grueling day investigating a notorious drug cartel, a high-stakes case that had consumed her for months. Exhaustion tugged at her, but pride burned brighter. One of the few black women in a white, male-dominated agency, she'd clawed her way to respect through sheer grit. Today, she was inches from a breakthrough, her mind racing with fresh intel. Blue and red lights flashed in her rearview mirror. Sarah frowned, glancing at the speedometer. She wasn't speeding. Surprised and uneasy, she eased the car to the curb, wondering what she'd done wrong. A patrol car pulled up behind her, and out stepped John Harper, a 45-year-old white officer, tall, with short, light brown hair and a face carved with cold authority. His hand rested on his holster as he approached her window, steps deliberate, eyes hard. Sarah lowered the glass, keeping her voice steady. "Good afternoon, officer. Is there a problem?" She reached for her FBI badge, ready to clarify. Harper didn't even glance at it. "License and registration," he snapped, his tone flat. No greeting. Sarah paused, stung by his hostility, but stayed professional. "I'm an FBI agent," she said, holding out her badge clearly. "This is my identification." Harper barely looked at it, his eyes narrowing. "I said license and registration," he repeated, voice like ice. Sarah's heart quickened. Something was wrong. She'd dealt with tough cops before, but Harper's cold disdain sent a chill through her. "Officer," she said, calm but firm, "I'm a federal agent on official duty. I can explain if you need." Harper wasn't listening. "Step out of the vehicle," he ordered, his voice cutting like a blade. Sarah froze, stunned. "Excuse me," she asked, disbelief creeping in. "I said step out," Harper barked, louder now, drawing eyes from passers-by. A few stopped, pulling out phones to record. Sarah hesitated. She knew her rights. There was no reason for this stop, let alone an order to exit her car. But the air crackled with tension, and she felt the weight of Harper's prejudice not for a crime, but for who she was, a black woman in a nice car, in an upscale neighborhood. "Officer, I'm complying," Sarah said, trying to de-escalate. "But you need to know I'm an FBI agent. I've done nothing wrong." Harper smirked, his eyes dripping with contempt. "I don't care who you are. Get out, or I'll drag you out." The words hit like a slap, and Sarah's stomach knotted. She slowly opened the door, stepped out, keeping her hands visible. The crowd on the sidewalk grew, whispers spreading. A woman muttered. "What did she do?" a man replied. "Probably 'cause she's black." Harper moved in, no hesitation. Before Sarah could speak again, he grabbed her arm, roughly shoving her against the car. "Hey, what are you doing?" Sarah protested, her voice sharp with anger and shock. "Resisting arrest." "Huh," Harper sneered, twisting her arm behind her back, snapping cold steel cuffs around her wrists. Sarah winced as they bit into her skin, but she forced herself to stay calm. This wasn't just abuse of power, it was public humiliation, rooted in the color of her skin, her confidence, the FBI badge he refused to acknowledge. The crowd was staring now, some filming, their faces a mix of shock and curiosity. Sarah's cheeks burned with anger and embarrassment, but she held her head high. She'd done nothing wrong, and she wouldn't let this officer break her. "Officer Harper, you're making a mistake," she said, her voice trembling slightly with suppressed rage. "Shut your mouth," Harper snapped, his words like a whip. "You think you're better than everyone else because you're with the FBI. Let me tell you, You're not above the law. Sarah clenched her jaw, her mind racing. She needed to stay calm but also find a way out without escalating further. Her FBI colleagues wouldn't believe this, a federal agent arrested without cause. Mid-duty, Harper shoved her toward the patrol car, ignoring her attempts to reason. As he pushed her into the back seat, Sarah caught a glimpse of the crowd, phones still rolling, whispers growing louder. "She's FBI," one said. "Why's this happening?" No one stepped in. No one challenged Harper. The door slammed shut. The sound final? Like a gavel. Sarah sat in the patrol car, wrists aching from the tight cuffs. She stared out the window, Atlanta's streets blurring past. This wasn't just a stop. It was personal. Harper wasn't just doubting her, he wanted to tear her down, to prove she didn't belong. Not in that car, not in her role. Sarah took a deep breath, steadying herself. She'd faced tough situations in her career, but this was different. This cut deeper, a blade of injustice aimed at her identity. Harper glanced at her through the rearview mirror, a smirk curling his lips. "Thought you could fake being FBI and get away with it?" he taunted, voice thick with arrogance. Sarah's eyes narrowed. "I'm not faking. I'm a federal agent, and you're making a huge mistake." Harper laughed, shaking his head. "Sure, and I'm the FBI director." His mockery made her blood boil, but she bit back a retort, refusing to play his game. Reasoning with him was pointless. He'd made up his mind before he even stopped her. The patrol car pulled up to a small, outdated police station on the city's outskirts, far from Atlanta's main precincts. Sarah's stomach tightened. Harper had chosen this place deliberately, likely to avoid scrutiny from higher-ups or her FBI colleagues. He opened the back door, grabbing her arm and yanking her out. "Let's go, agent," he sneered, spitting the word like an insult. Sarah winced at his rough grip but stayed silent, stepping into the station. Inside, the station was eerily quiet. A few officers were present, but they barely looked up as Harper let her pass the front desk. Their indifference chilled her, as if Harper's behavior was routine, expected. He pushed her into a small interrogation room, the dim fluorescent light casting a harsh glow over a metal table and two chairs. Harper shoved her into a seat, keeping the cuffs on. "Let's get one thing straight," he began, pacing before her. "I don't care who you claim to be. To me, you're just a troublemaker trying to pull a fast one." Sarah met his gaze, unflinching. "You're violating my rights," she said, voice steady. "You have no reason to hold me, and when this is over, you'll regret it." Harper stopped, leaning close, his breath hot on her face. "Threatening me, agent?" he asked, voice low and dangerous. Sarah didn't blink. Not a threat, a promise. Harper stared at her, then laughed, a harsh sound echoing in the room. "You think you're untouchable? Wait and see." He turned, storming out, the door slamming shut. Sarah sat alone, wrists throbbing, mind racing. She needed to contact her FBI team, but Harper had taken her phone. She scanned the room, a small window near the ceiling, too high to reach, and a locked door. Frustration surged, but Sarah forced herself to stay calm. She was a trained agent, built for crises, and she wouldn't let Harper win. Not today. Her thoughts churned. Harper wasn't just abusing his power, he was hiding something. Her drug cartel investigation might have brushed too close to a secret he wanted buried. But what and why target her with such venom? Sarah knew she needed time and evidence to turn this around. For now, she was trapped. Each passing second feeling like a tightening noose. The door swung open. A younger officer, about 30, stepped in, his face uneasy. Michael Reed, white, with short blonde hair, his police uniform slightly rumpled, held a file, glancing at Sarah, then at the door as if afraid of being caught. "Agent Williams," he said, voice hesitant. "I'm supposed to process you for holding, but I'm sorry about this." Sarah looked at him, surprised. Unlike Harper, Reed seemed uncomfortable, maybe even sympathetic. He could be her way out. She had to seize this chance. "You know this is wrong, don't you?" Sarah asked, voice low but sharp. Reed froze, clutching the file. He didn't answer, his eyes darting to the door, as if Harper might burst in. Sarah leaned forward, her tone soft but firm. "You can make this right. Reed, help me, and we can stop Harper." Reed's gaze met hers, torn between fear and conscience. The room fell silent, save for the hum of the fluorescent light. Sarah knew she had only seconds to sway him, and she wasn't letting this moment slip. The fluorescent light buzzed overhead, casting a cold glow across the cramped interrogation room. Sarah Williams sat, wrists still bound by the tight cuffs, her eyes locked on Michael Reed. His hesitation hung in the air, a flicker of doubt in his young face, his blonde hair slightly disheveled under the harsh light. The silence stretched, broken only by the distant hum of Atlanta's outskirts beyond the station's walls. Sarah's pulse quickened. She sensed an opening, a crack in the system that John Harper thought he controlled. But she had to move fast. Harper could return any second, and her window was narrowing. Reed shifted, clutching his file tighter, his eyes darting to the door again. "I'm not supposed to be talking to you like this," he muttered, voice low, barely above a whisper. "Harper's got everyone here on a leash." Sarah leaned forward, her voice steady despite the ache in her wrists. "Then break the leash." "Reed, you know what he's doing is wrong. Help me, and we can end this." Reed's jaw tightened, his fingers trembling on the file. For a moment, he looked like he might bolt, but something in Sarah's gaze held him. Before he could respond, heavy footsteps echoed down the hall. Reed's face paled, and Sarah's heart sank. The door swung open, and Harper stormed in, his 45-year-old frame filling the doorway, his short light brown hair catching the dim light. His eyes narrowed at Reed. "What's taking so long?" he barked, his voice sharp with suspicion. "Process her and move," Reed stammered. I was just getting her info, sir." Harper's gaze flicked to Sarah, his smirk returning. "Don't let her talk you into anything, kid. She's just another troublemaker with a fake badge." Sarah's blood boiled, but she kept her face neutral. Harper's words were a taunt, meant to degrade her, to strip away her authority. She saw it now. His hostility wasn't just prejudice, it was personal. Her drug cartel investigation had stirred something he wanted buried, and he was using his badge to silence her. "You're wasting time." "Harper," she said, voice calm but cutting. "The longer you hold me, the deeper you dig your own grave." Harper laughed, a harsh sound that echoed off the walls, big words for someone in cuffs. He turned to Reed, jabbing a finger. "Get her to holding! Now!" Reed nodded quickly, but his eyes flickered with conflict as he stepped towards Sarah. She stood, hands still cuffed, her charcoal-tailored jacket creased, but her posture unbroken. As Reed led her out of the room, his grip on her arm was lighter than Harper's, almost apologetic. The hallway was dim, the air stale, and the few officers at their desks avoided eye contact. Sarah's mind raced. Reed was her lifeline, but she needed to push him further, to turn his doubt into action. They reached a small holding area, a row of cells with rusted bars. Reed hesitated, glancing back toward the interrogation room. "I don't like this," he whispered, so low Sarah barely heard him. "Harper's been off for months. He's got connections. People nobody questions." Sarah seized the moment, her voice urgent but soft. "Then question him. Reed, you're not like him. You can stop this." Reed's eyes met hers. his face a mix of fear and resolve. He opened his mouth to speak, but a shout from the hall cut him off. Reed Harper's voice boomed, his boots stomping closer. "What's the hold-up?" Panic flashed across Reed's face. He grabbed Sarah's arm, pulling her toward a side door marked exit. "We're moving!" he hissed, his voice trembling but decisive. Sarah's heart leaped. Reed was making a choice. He pushed the door open, revealing a dark alley behind the station. The Atlanta night air cool and sharp. "Go," he whispered, fumbling with his keys to unlock her cuffs. The metal clicked free, and Sarah rubbed her wrists, her eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of Harper. "What's the plan?" she asked, voice low, adrenaline surging. Reed shoved a set of keys into her hand, pointing to an old, beat-up sedan parked in the alley. "Take this. Get out of here. I'll cover for you, but you don't have long." Sarah hesitated, searching his face. Was this a trap? Reed's nervous glance toward the station told her he was risking everything. "Why are you doing this?" she pressed. Reed swallowed hard. "Because Harper's dirty. I've seen things, deals, payoffs. Your investigation. It's hitting too close. He'll bury you if you stay." The revelation hit like a shockwave. Harper wasn't just a prejudiced cop, he was entangled in something bigger, likely tied to the cartel Sarah was chasing. Her mind raced, piecing it together. Harper's aggression, his refusal to acknowledge her badge, it was about protecting his own secrets. Before she could ask more. The station door rattled. "Move," Reed urged, pushing her toward the car. Sarah sprinted to the sedan, sliding into the driver's seat, the engine coughing to life as she turned the key. She glanced back. Reed was already slipping back inside, his face pale but determined. The alley stretched into darkness, and Sarah floored the gas, the car lurching forward. Her heart pounded as she navigated the narrow streets, the city's lights fading into the rural outskirts. She needed to contact her team, but Harper had her phone. Every second on the road felt like a gamble. Harper would realize she was gone soon, and he wouldn't let her escape easily. The sedan rattled along a quiet road, the forest closing in on both sides. Sarah's mind churned. Reed's words echoed Harper's connections, deals. Her investigation had uncovered leads about corrupt officials tied to the cartel, but she hadn't suspected a beat cop like Harper. Now, it made sense. His desperation to stop her wasn't just bias, it was self-preservation. She needed evidence, something to expose him. But first, she needed to survive. Headlights flashed in her rearview mirror, sharp and blinding. Sarah's grip tightened on the wheel. A vehicle was tailing her, closing in fast. Her pulse spiked. Was it Harper? She pressed the gas, the old car groaning as it picked up speed. The headlights grew larger, unrelenting. She swerved onto a side road, the pavement cracked and uneven, the forest swallowing the moonlight. The pursuing car followed, its engine roaring. Sarah's stomach churned. She was alone, unarmed, and in a car barely holding together. The road narrowed, branches scraping the sedan's sides. Sarah scanned for an escape, a turnoff, a hiding spot. The headlights were closer now, the vehicle's grille visible in the mirror. It was a police cruiser, Harper. He'd found her already. Her mind raced for options. She couldn't outrun him. Not in this car. She needed to think like the agent. She was strategic, precise. Spotting a dirt path veering into the woods, she made a split-second decision, yanking the wheel hard. The sedan skidded onto the path, tires kicking up dust, the cruiser right behind. The path was barely a road, more a trail through dense trees. Sarah's hands shook, but she kept control, weaving through the underbrush. The cruiser's lights flashed erratically as it struggled to keep pace. "Come on," she muttered, urging the sedan forward. A clearing appeared ahead, an old cabin looming in the shadows, its windows dark, roof sagging, shelter, risky. but her only shot. She slammed on the brakes, the car skidding to a stop. She jumped out, sprinting toward the cabin, her charcoal jacket catching on branches as she plunged into the darkness. The cruiser screeched to a halt behind her, its door slamming. Heavy boots crunched on gravel. Harper's voice cut through the night, cold and mocking. "You can't run forever, Williams." Sarah's heart pounded as she reached the cabin, shoving the creaking door open. Inside, the air was musty, dust coating a broken table and chairs. She ducked behind a wall, her breath shallow, listening as Harper's footsteps grew closer. He was hunting her, and he wasn't alone. She heard a second set of boots. Another officer, maybe loyal to him. Sarah's eyes darted around the cabin, searching for anything a weapon, an exit. A rusted metal pipe lay in the corner, half buried in cobwebs. She grabbed it, gripping it tightly, her training kicking in. Harper wasn't just a cop anymore, he was a predator, and she was his prey. But Sarah wasn't going down without a fight. The door creaked, and a flashlight beam sliced through the darkness, landing inches from her hiding spot. Harper's voice was closer now, taunting. "You think you're smart, huh? Digging into things you shouldn't." Sarah's blood ran cold. He knew about her investigation, knew she was close to exposing something, the cartel, the payoffs, his role in it all. She tightened her grip on the pipe, her mind racing. She needed to stall, to buy time until her team could track her. But Harper was closing in, his steps deliberate, his flashlight sweeping the room. The second officer's voice called out, "She's in here somewhere. Boss!" Sarah's stomach dropped. 2 against 1, and she was cornered. She pressed herself against the wall, the pipe cold in her hands. Harper's shadow loomed larger, his boots scraping the floor. "Come out, Williams," he sneered. "Make this easy." Sarah's heart thundered, but her resolve hardened. She'd faced worse odds in her career cartel hitmen, undercover ops gone wrong. Harper was just another threat, and she'd bring him down. The flashlight beam swung closer, and Sarah braced herself, ready to move. The night was far from over, and the real fight was just beginning. The cabin's musty air clung to Sarah Williams as she crouched behind the wall, the rusted metal pipe cold and heavy in her hands. Her heart pounded, each beat echoing in the silence of the Atlanta night. John Harper's flashlight beam cut through the darkness, inches from her hiding spot, his boots scraping the splintered floorboards. The second officer, a younger man with a gruff voice, moved nearby, his steps cautious but deliberate. "She's here, boss," he called, his tone laced with nervous loyalty. Sarah's breath was shallow, her 35-year-old frame tense under her charcoal-tailored jacket, its crest barely visible in the dim light. Harper's voice slithered through the room, low and venomous. "No more running. Williams, you're done." Sarah's mind raced, her FBI training kicking into overdrive. She couldn't take on 2 armed officers alone, not without a plan. The pipe was her only weapon, and Harper was no ordinary cop. He was desperate, cornered by her investigation into the drug cartel and his own dirty secrets. She'd hit a nerve, and now he was here to silence her. The flashlight beam swung closer, grazing the edge of her jacket. Sarah tightened her grip, calculating her next move. She needed to stall, to keep Harper talking until her backup arrived if they arrived. "You're scared, aren't you?" Sarah called out, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her. "My investigation's too close. Harper, what are you hiding? Payoffs, cartel connections." The beam froze, and Harper's laugh was harsh, cutting through the stillness. "You think you're clever, digging into things that don't concern you," he snarled, stepping closer, his shadow looming. "This town's mine, and you're just a problem I'm fixing." The second officer, still out of sight, muttered, "Let's just grab her and go." Sarah's eyes darted to the cabin's layout, a broken window to her left, too small to climb through, and a back door across the room, likely locked. The pipe felt heavier now, her only leverage. She shifted slightly, her loafers silent on the dusty floor, and called out again, "You're not fixing anything, Harper? You're exposing yourself. Every second you keep me here, my team's getting closer. It was a bluff." But she needed him rattled. The flashlight jerked, and Harper's boots stopped, his breathing heavy. "Your team," he mocked. "No one's coming for you." But Sarah caught a flicker of doubt in his voice. She pressed harder. "You think you can bury an FBI agent and walk away? My people know where I am. You're the one running out of time," Harper growled, his steps quickening toward her corner. "Enough talk!" He snapped, the beam pinning her location. Sarah braced herself, pipe raised, ready to swing. The second officer's boots shuffled closer, his shadow joining Harper's, 2 against 1, and the odds were brutal. Before Harper could reach her, a distant rumble broke the silence engines, multiple roaring closer. Sarah's heart leaped, back up. Harper froze, his flashlight wavering. "What the hell?" he muttered. The second officer, now visible a white man, late 20s, with buzzed dark hair and a tense face, spun toward the window. "Boss, that's gotta be." His words cut off as headlights flooded the cabin, red and blue lights flashing through the cracked glass. Sarah seized the moment, lunging from her hiding spot, swinging the pipe at Harper's arm. The metal connected with a sickening thud, and Harper roared, dropping his flashlight. The beams spun wildly, casting chaotic shadows. The second officer fumbled for his gun, but Sarah was faster, diving for the flashlight and kicking it across the floor. "Stay back!" she shouted, pipe raised, her gray polo damp with sweat. Harper clutched his arm, his face twisted in rage. "You're dead, Williams," he spat, lunging at her. She sidestepped, swinging the pipe again, catching his shoulder. He stumbled, cursing, as the cabin door burst open. FBI agents stormed in, weapons drawn, their shouts filling the air. FBI hands up. Leading them was Agent David Carter, a 40-year-old black man with close-cropped hair and a navy suit, his face set with urgency. "Sarah," he called, spotting her. Harper froze, his hands half raised, his eyes darting for an escape. The second officer dropped to his knees, hands behind his head, muttering, "I didn't sign up for this." Sarah lowered the pipe, her chest heaving, but her voice was steady. "Harper's dirty. Carter. He's tied to the cartel I'm investigating." Carter nodded, signaling his team to cuff Harper and the second officer. "We've got enough to hold him," he said, his eyes scanning the scene. "You okay?" Sarah nodded, brushing dust off her jacket. "I'm fine. But Harper's got more to answer for than this." The agents secured Harper, his face a mask of fury as they dragged him toward the door. "This isn't over," he shouted, twisting against the cuffs. Sarah met his gaze, unflinching. "It is for you." Outside, the forest was alive with activity, FBI vehicles, local police backup, their lights cutting through the night. Sarah stepped into the cool air, her loafers crunching on gravel. Michael Reed, the young officer who'd helped her escape, stood by a patrol car, his face pale but relieved. He'd called in her location, risking everything to get her out. "You did good, Reed," Sarah said, her voice soft but firm. He nodded, still shaken. "I couldn't let him win." Carter approached, holding Sarah's phone, recovered from Harper's desk. "We've got his files, too." He said, "Paperwork. Payments looks like he's been taking bribes from the cartel for years." Sarah's jaw tightened. It all clicked: Harper's desperation, his targeting her. She'd been too close to exposing his role as the cartel's inside man, funneling protection in exchange for cash. "He thought he could scare me off," she said, her voice low. Big mistake. The agents loaded Harper into a van, his shouts muffled as the door slammed shut. The second officer, now cooperative, was spilling details, implicating Harper further. Sarah watched, her heart still racing but her resolve ironclad. This wasn't just about her, it was about every person Harper had intimidated, every injustice he'd buried under his badge. She turned to Carter. "I want a full investigation. Every deal, every contact, and I want it public." Carter nodded. "Already in motion. The precinct's under scrutiny. And Harper's done. He's facing charges misconduct, bribery, assault on a federal agent." Sarah exhaled, the weight of the night lifting slightly. The crowd of agents and officers buzzed around her, securing the scene. But her mind was already on the next step. Harper's arrest was a start, but the cartel was still out there. And she wasn't done. Days later, Sarah stood in a community center in East Atlanta, her jacket replaced with a simple black sweater, her presence commanding a room of young faces, teens, activists, locals. She didn't talk about cases or cartels. She spoke of standing tall when the world tries to push you down, of fighting systems that see you as less. "They'll try to break you," she told a girl in the front row, her eyes bright with ambition. "Don't let them. Become undeniable." The room erupted in applause, a wave of pride washing over the crowd. As Sarah stepped down, a boy approached, clutching a notebook. "Is it true you took down a dirty cop?" he asked. Eyes wide, Sarah smiled, crouching to his level. "I didn't do it alone. But yeah, we made sure he faced justice." She stood, her gaze steady. "You can, too." Weeks later, Harper sat in a courtroom, his badge gone, his name plastered across headlines. The evidence bank records, cartel communications, witness testimonies from Reed and others buried him. He was sentenced to years behind bars, his career and reputation in ruins. Sarah watched from the back, her arms crossed, knowing this was more than a win. It was a signal no one, not even a cop, was above accountability. Back in her office, Sarah reviewed the cartel case files, her focus sharper than ever. The night in the cabin had changed her, but it hadn't broken her. It had forged her resolve. She wasn't just fighting crime. She was fighting for a world where no one could be humiliated for who they were. As she drove through Atlanta's streets, the city alive around her, she knew one thing: justice didn't shout. It stood firm, and she'd make sure it always would. Thank you for following this story. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments below. If you'd like more inspiring stories about justice and resilience, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We'll be back tomorrow with another must-see story you won't want to miss.